That's the first game we're going to pick, and boy, Pete, my God, that's one of the worst weeks we have ever seen here on our pick show on CBS Sports HQ.
Yet Pete is still somehow ahead.
Yes.
That was terrible.
As bad as Pete was.
I mean, it was just
ahead.
awful.
That's the second worst week since the start of last season for either one of you. Brady had a 4-10 week last year. That still stands barely as the worst percentage points wise. The
Thanks,
worst
Chris.
week.
Yeah, way to rub it into my face. And
Thanks,
then you add him in and rub it in his face.
Well, I'm equal opportunity.
If you only made your picks.
Hey, I've never missed a pick because I don't think I've given one. That's Brady Quinn. That's Pete Prisco. I'm Chris Hassel. Let's start with the game on Thursday night. Dolphins, Bengals. Do you think that maybe the little uncertainty surrounding Tua is baked into the spread a little bit here?
I think so. I mean, I think that has a little bit to do with this. The interesting thing about the Tua injury is, they're calling it a back injury. It didn't look like a back injury. I've had back injuries. I've had concussions. It looked more like a concussion to me.
My back hurts.
It's irrelevant to this point, though, because the thing I want to bring up is, you remember back in college when the last time these two teams faced off? Tua had a high ankle sprain. What did he do? He went and got surgery so he could come back sooner. And he played in that game, hobbled, but went throw for throw with Burrow. Ended up losing, but a gutsy performance, a gutsy effort. I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play in this game. Now, I don't think he's going to be as effective as he's been in this matchup. I think what we saw from the Bengals last week is what we're going to see from them moving forward. They got T. Higgins back. The offense is starting to roll a little bit better. They're protecting Burrow better. And defensively, I think they'll have a game plan for the speed of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But I am assuming Tua plays, and I'm still laying the 4 points here.
If Tua was healthy, I'd still lay the 4 points. I think this is a great spot for the Bengals. You get a short week. You got a team coming off an emotionally big win against the Bills. They didn't do a lot in that game. Bills, they stopped them when they had to, and they made the plays. Credit to them. But I think this is a great opportunity for Joe Burrow in the passing game. But you know what this is? This is fire in the belly game. This is exactly what this is. Remember the story? I asked Tua at Super Bowl if he was healthy at the end of the year, if he would have beat Joe Burrow. And he said, I can't say that, I can't say that. I asked Joe Burrow the same question, told Joe Burrow what he said, and Joe Burrow said, yeah, and he waited about a couple seconds and came back and I beat him when he was playing, right? Fire in the belly.
Burrow's got it, Tua doesn't. Is that what you're saying?
He has more of it, and he's going to show some of that in this one. I think the Bengals will get their passing game cranked up. Miami hasn't stopped anybody, by the way. So I think they crank up the passing game.
You could say they haven't stopped anyone, but they also held Buffalo to, I believe, their lowest performance last week of the entire season. So say what you want about stopping anyone. They held them down the way they need to. They're going to have to try to find a way of holding
down. They give up 450-yard passing yards per week.
Hey, you give as many yards as you want.
You're not going to win, but that's not going to.
Any good defensive coordinator will tell you, you get off the field, you force field goals, you figure out a way of getting off the field.
Does that play out over the course of the season if you keep giving up 450
Probably
passing?
not.
Okay.
But that's becoming more of what the league is. And I can give you a dissertation of the shell coverage defense that everyone's using now. And a lot of that has to do with, hey, we're not giving up big plays. We're not going to allow that to turn these games. We'll give up 5 yards of pop on the ground, but we're okay as long as we get off the field in the red zone and force field goals.
But if you give up
that's what Miami defense did last week. They give up 450
yards passing this week to the Bengals. They're going to give up about 35 points. And I think the Bengals
probably
throw the ball around and have success. I like the Bengals in this game.
Both on the Bengals here to start things off. That's on Thursday night. We also have an early game on Sunday because it's kicking off in London. The Saints and the Vikings. Minnesota, a 2.5-point favorite. What, Pete?
Is this a primetime game?
No. Well, I mean, I guess it's afternoon in London, right?
And it's the only game on at that time. I mean, does it kind of count?
Is that what's weighing?
I don't know.
I mean, can we get a ruling on that?
It's 2 p.m. in London or so.
It's the only game in its slot. Everybody's going to be watching. It's kind of a marquee game, isn't it?
Just get to the point, Pete.
Okay, well, Kirk Cousins in big games, we know how that plays out, and he hasn't been good in big games. And this is a good Saints defense. My concern, I picked the Saints. My concern is, what's the quarterback situation? Winston didn't practice. They said it was a rest day. He's got a bad back, too. And now they're going to go maybe to Andy Dalton, which might not be a bad thing, by the way, if Andy Dalton plays. The way Jameis Winston has played, he's been struggling. Going to Andy Dalton might not be a bad thing. I think the Saints' defense will limit what Kirk Cousins in the passing game does in this game. By the way, where's Justin Jefferson? Anybody seen Justin Jefferson? He got off to that great start, and then he's disappeared the last 2 games.
Well, give credit to Darius Slay 2 weeks ago. He locked him down. I think the coverage scheme for Philadelphia took him away. I called that game last week versus the Lions. Trust me, the way they were doubling him, they weren't going to find ways of getting him the football. They ended up finding the singled-up receiver in KJ Osborne for the game-winning touchdown. and that's unfortunate, I think, where they're at. It's going to have to be Thielen, Osborne, Irv Smith, someone else. Cook could be banged up for this one, too. I'm just kind of curious to see where this Vikings team's at. I think their defense is still trying to figure out how to play that shell coverage Ed Donatell's is trying to implement there. They haven't got the pass rush that I thought they'd get to. That's been a bit of an issue. So I think these are two really evenly matched teams. The biggest concern for me is if Jameis Winston does play, stop turning over the football. Like, that was his whole issue coming out from college. That's been his issue when he was at Tampa. That's why he was a backup with the Saints. We thought he got out of his system, and it's reared its ugly head again. So if he can stop turning over the football, I think the Saints win this game. They don't even need the 2.5 points, but I'll take the 2.5 points.
By the way, you mentioned the doubles for Justin Jefferson. Isn't that the next step to be the truly great receiver, is handling the double and dealing with the double?
That's part of it, but I also think there has to be an element of, first year installing an offense that's going to be different from what, Kirk Cousins had under Gary Kubiak and something, Kevin Stefanski, some of that other coaching tree. They're still, trying to bring this thing along. So over time, yes, I think you get to a point where that's the case. But the problem is they can solely single on him, and if you can't protect, Kirk Cousins long enough, it's hard to get open versus double coverage.
All right, 2 games, 2 agreements from Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn.
That's bad for him, by the way, because I'm in the abyss.
You still have a better record than him over the season.
Yeah, well, we're both losers, as it looks like.
Brady does add the overs in both those games as well. Over 47 in the Thursday game, over 44 in the early morning Sunday London game. It is now time for Pete Prisco's Spinning Top of the Week.
After watching the Washington Commanders play on the offensive line last week against Philly, I almost wanted to get my pads on because I don't think I would have gotten pushed into the backfield as bad as Wes Schweitzer did. Oh, my God. The starting center for Washington spent the day in the backfield. I mean, we had to come up for a dance, the Schweitzer dance or something. I mean, he's getting just mauled.
He is a backup.
But he's getting mauled. Look at this. I mean, it's just terrible.
Who's he going up against?
That's Jordan Davis. That's a rookie. It's a big man.
It's a gigantic human being who's athletic.
Paid the block. And here we go. Sam Cosmi, the second-year right tackle. Look, you got to stay with your block. He comes around, forces a fumble, and they recovered it, luckily. But this was a theme throughout the game. Here we go. Wes Schweitzer back into the backfield doing the Schweitzer dance. Here we go again on the outside. No, this is Wes Schweitzer again in the middle. They don't pick up the stunt. They do a terrible job with the stunt. This isn't getting overpowered. This is just getting from a...
Well, that's not on him, but schematically, look, when you're offensive lineman, you get on different levels when they run a stunt. That's when the defense wins. That's when they're going to get a free rush to the quarterback.
And here we go, both of them. This isn't a sack, but it forces a check down because he can't even step into a throw. He's in his face again, and then you have Cosmi getting beat.
But look at what you're getting. You're getting one-on-ones, and that's the problem is when you're going up against that Philadelphia Eagles front, you can't allow your weakest offensive lineman to be in a one-on-one scenario versus more.
And here we go,
players.
Brandon Graham going around. Whoop! There you go. Down you go. I mean, it was just a theme throughout, and they were not alone, by the way. I just didn't want to put the entire offensive line in there. They were the two of the worst ones. Look at this.
Well, how many 5-man protections is Washington going to run?
There's the Schweitzer dance again.
Yeah, but how many are they going to run and not provide, a little more help? Either a running back, tight end, a chip, something. I mean, at some point, you've got to say, I have to go to a 7-man protection and get them some help up front.
You defend every offensive line we pick apart every week.
Yeah.
Why
because
is that?
It's much more nuanced than just saying,
I know it's nuanced.
These guys got beat on these plays.
So was he getting beat on those plays?
Yes, he got beat on those plays. But that's also a matchup where if you and I are watching tape going into that game, we shouldn't be putting that player in that situation.
Okay, Cosmi, right tackle, got beat a bunch. Yeah. Okay.
And you should get him some chip help either with a running back or tight end or
formationally.
I'm not
denying that. We're not talking
get a harder
about,
pass.
But if you are in that situation, win once in a while.
Yeah, and you're showing the once in a while where he lost. He didn't lose every play in that game.
He lost a lot. Cosmi lost a lot. There were more that I could have shown. He lost a lot.
Yeah.
And Schweitzer was worse.
Well, again,
he's in
a tough spot.
The
Schweitzer dance?
What does that look like?
You back up. You get pushed back.
You had a lot of write-in votes for Evan Neal, but you don't like picking on the young
Look,
guy.
there are rookies out there that were worse than those two. I'm just not going to do that right in week 3. I think it takes a little time to learn how to play offense.
Oh, well, it's good to see you have some compassion.
Would you have put Evan Neal in there? No, I mean, he could have been. Ike Ekwonu has been bad. You could have put him in.
Yeah, but we knew that coming into the season, and even coming out from college. Like, no one said he was good in pass pro. He's a great run blocker, but we knew that was going to be a work in progress. And as far as Evan Neal goes, look, that was a tough matchup this past week.
We give the rookies about another 2 or 3 more weeks if they still are playing.
Who's we?
Me.
Yeah, you.
It's me.
Is that the royal we?
Well,
or are you
yeah,
talking singular, the royal singular we? Is that what you're saying?
You defend everyone in every position.
Someone's
in the NFL.
got to.
Every position in the NFL. You used to be the quarterback defender. Now you're the offensive
The only ones I
line
don't
defender.
defend are the kickers and punters.
Yeah, I can never defend them ever.
Okay.
I hate them.
We'll have a pick for the Commanders' upcoming game against the Cowboys a little bit later as we continue on picking every game in the NFL this week with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. Up next, the marquee matchup at quarterback. Josh Allen and the Bills, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. We pick that game and more next. HQ presented by Liquid IV and a couple really interesting early games on CBS, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Bills, Ravens going to get a lot of the headlines, but Jags, Eagles. It's 2-1 Jags, unbeaten Eagles, Chargers needing to win right now at 1-2. They're 5-point favorites at the Texans. We're going to pick all 5 of these here on CBS Sports HQ. Chris Hassel joined by Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. Let's start with Bills and Ravens. It's a game that figures to be close, but the Bills 0-7 in one-score games since the start of last season.
Yeah, it's an odd stat when you look at the numbers, only because we looked at them coming into the season as the most dominant team. I think we all felt the way about them until maybe this past week, and I'm not sure really what to make of it. You talked about all the yardage in earlier today's show that they were a game. They just couldn't really capitalize off of it. Clearly, you can see the frustration from the coaching staff. This is a spot where I think the Bills get right. The Ravens defensively have not been able to get a rush. I think you're going to see Josh Allen have plenty of time to make some plays. Defensively, look, I know the Bills are banged up, but Sean McDermott will have a game plan to stop Lamar Jackson from taking off, running the ball around, and hurting them. So I feel confident laying the 3 points here, even though I know home underdogs. It's been a thing so far this year in the NFL season. They've been able to hold their own.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Bills. I know those injuries on defense are concerning, but the Ravens haven't played like a good defense either. They've been giving up a ton of yards. I think this is going to be high scoring. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks, the two leaders in the MVP conversation along with Jalen Hurts. I think you're going to see both quarterbacks play at a high level, score a lot of points. I love the over, but I like the Bills as well.
Is Tua not in that conversation for MVP?
No.
Okay. Just asking.
No.
Tua is
Statistically,
not yet.
Statistically, he's up there with those guys.
I think it's 14-1 right now at Caesars to win MVP.
And who's ahead of them?
Both these quarterbacks.
Josh Allen.
Is Jalen Hurts ahead of Tua?
Yep.
Yeah, also is, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's the favorites.
Okay.
what
So
I
you don't
said.
think Tua maybe be in that conversation?
After Thursday, no.
Dolphins are unbeaten. We'll see. A lot of times it's about how good you are as a team, and the Dolphins have been good. They are the only unbeaten team in the AFC. Eagles, only unbeaten team in the NFC. They're taking on the Jags at 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. Eagles favored by 6.5.
Oh, but it's the Doug Peterson revenge game, and he's got his team all fired
I
up.
can't
Pete.
stand that.
Don't they all get into it like that, Pete? Don't the players and coaches get it?
No, they don't care. They care about themselves.
In all seriousness, though, give a lot of credit to Doug Peterson, the job he's done with the Jaguars. You called it. I mean, you are the mayor of Jacksonville, so I know you've got your inside source there up in Jacksonville as far as what was going on. They spent a lot of money, the most we've ever seen in the offseason. Doug Peterson's doing a bunch of things that I think play within the wheelhouse of what Trevor Lawrence does well, and you've seen the growth and strides from him. This one scares me. I think the Eagles win this game. I think it's a close game. I don't think the Jags go in there and pull off the upset. But I'll take the 6.5 points. I think these two teams are closer than that as far as how they match up with one another. But eventually you'd have to think Philly's going to slow down a little bit, right? I mean, they've been phenomenal so far this year, and only scoring 14 points in the entire, in all second half, only 14 points. That's it. They've been doing all the work in the first half, dominating teams, and 14 points is it through 3 games in the second half of games. It's kind of crazy to think about that stat, but I'll take the 6.5 points in the Jags, but Eagles do win.
You kid about me being the mayor? When I was at Tony Baselli's Hall of Fame ceremony, the mayor actually came up to me and he took a picture and he tweeted that out and said, "I'm with the real mayor of Jacksonville." How
Did
about
he?
that? Yeah.
Can we find documented evidence of this?
He tweeted it out. I saw it.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Can we find this? I know we're good at finding this kind of stuff in about 10 seconds.
I'm the mayor.
You're the mayor.
I'm the mayor.
Oh, you sound like him, by the
Yeah,
way.
how-
I'm not
how did it
I'm not
sound?
going to give a score on that game.
How did it sound?
Huh?
How did it sound?
I don't know. I had
And by the way, we did give a score eventually, and we both lost that
yeah.
game.
By the way, I had a couple cocktails at the time. I don't remember how it sounded.
You had a big old package going.
No, not really.
Hey.
I'm with you on Jacksonville. My only concern here is, and we've seen this play out, they're the number 1 rush defense in the league.
Oh, yeah.
The Saints were the number 1 rush defense in the league last year. They went to Philly in midseason and we're ambushed by that style of offense, how do you prepare for it? It's also a young defense, aggressive defense, and you know how Philly likes to get stuff going against the grain, back against the flow. That concerns me. I think I'm with you. I think the Eagles win the game, but I think Jacksonville's good enough to hang in there. And if they win this game, their schedule is soft for the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then they could have a monster game at Kansas City.
You'd have to think Doug Peterson's the front runner for Coach of the Year at that point. And to your point, by the way, in looking at what the Eagles, how they challenge defenses, it's to me on third down because it limits how much man you can play. And it takes away, too, the ability to really double a couple of guys, right? Because one of those guys, someone has to be responsible for Jalen Hurts if he's going to take off and run, because that's where he's going to be able to hurt you. And every time I put on the Eagles tape, that's what I see is he'll take off scramble, whether it's early downs, third downs. You'll see that from time to time. So it simplifies what defenses can do against Jalen Hurts because of his running ability.
Quick question. Who's the best quarterback in the game?
In this game, Jalen Hurts is playing like it. Jalen Hurts, I would give the MVP to right now.
I think Jalen Hurts
the way he's played so far this season.
For the long term, who would you rather have?
I got to see more of Trevor Lawrence because I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
a good question.
Looked great last week in the blowout of the Chargers. That's where we go next. Chargers 5-point favorites on the road against the winless Texans at 0-2-1. Right now, Sportsline, Pete, giving the Chargers just a 22% chance to make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, you lose your left tackle, who's the star of the offensive line. Now they have major problems at right tackle. Now they have major problems at both tackles. Joey Bosa with the groin injury. I mean, Keenan Allen hasn't played, and on it goes. And for whatever reason, every year with this team, we say this is going to be the year of the Chargers. And every year, all this stuff seems to happen on a regular basis. So I'm concerned about Justin Herbert. I'm concerned about him being protected. I'm concerned about their ability to drive the ball down the field because of that lack of protection. I think this is a great spot for the Texans. I really do. And Davis Mills was bad last week at certain moments. He made a couple of really good throws, made some awful decisions. The one at the end of the game was terrible. But I think they bounce back here. I think they run the ball a little bit with Pierce, and I think they control the flow of the game. I'm going to take the Texans. They're not going to win the game, but I'm going to take them with the points.
I'm right there with you. I think it's more about the concern, though, with the Chargers. And we just showed all the injuries. That's part of it. What also bothers me is that's why you have to have a running game. You know, it'd be nice to be able to have a running game when your protection's not working out so well for you, when your quarterback's banged up, he's not able to have the downfield passing game either because of the protection or because of the rib injury or potentially because some of your star players are out at wide receiver. Then you go, well, then we can rely on a more balance and having a running game, right? That's how you play complementary football. It's one of the reasons why I kind of look at this team and go, every single year they throw, I don't want to say too much because Justin Herbert's special, but he's not healthy right now. So you got to help the guy out. Do something and limit the amount of snaps your defense is out there if Joey Bosa isn't 100% and your defense isn't 100%. So for that reason, I think it's more to your point. Texans play at home. They keep this thing close. I don't imagine Davis Mills is going to all of a sudden fall off the face of the earth and play poorly at home enough for them to not be able to cover this number. So Chargers win a close one, but I'll take the 5 points in the game.
If the Chargers start losing games and don't make the postseason, is Staley in trouble?
I'll tell you what, man. He could be, and there happens to be a guy who's working a lot in LA right now that I think if you're the Chargers ownership, you have to be thinking young quarterback, great offensive mind, especially the way the Saints look right now offensively. Everyone's saying, well, if Sean Payton's back there, maybe that whole story's
I agree.
different.
I think Sean would take that job in a minute.
100%. Any viable head coach would. Look at that roster. Now you just got to figure out why they're getting injured all the time.
And one last thing about Brett Staley. Why the heck did he have his quarterback in throwing passes at the end of the game when he's hurt in a blowout? That's just being dumb, if you ask me.
It wasn't smart, although he has continued to say that it was Herbert once saying he wanted to be out there.
I don't care.
I know you don't care, but
as
as a player, there's times too when you want to be out there too, and there's something to that being out there. If you want to be out there, you ultimately are making that decision, playing through injury, whatever the case is. I understand what you're saying.
What would you have
There's
done if
also
you were
stubbornness. If I was the coach, I'd tell him to come out. If I was the player, I'd stay in.
You'd want to stay in, but if you were the coach,
I would stay in.
the coach would take him out.
No.
You're the coach.
And you can say no.
You get paid big money. Sit on the
And
sideline.
the quarterback gets paid big money. This
Sit on the
one will
sideline.
get paid big money.
Get out. You're out.
You guys disagree on this, but
Get out.
Get out.
you've agreed on every point spread so far.
I don't like
That's,
that.
Yeah, that's a little
Well,
scary.
I mean, I like it for me. I really feel bad for him. He's
Jesus,
coming down
there's
into
a lot
my
of agreements.
You're just trying to keep the lead, Pete. Your once big lead is now down to just one game on Brady. Let's go to the Browns at the Falcons. And the season kind of going like we thought it would for the Browns. They're slight favorites in this game. They win this, they're 3-1. Pete, I think you had them at 3-1, and then like a 9-game losing streak after that.
Yeah, this is a game they should win. Look, Atlanta played well last week, and I think they've done some really good and creative
Out of your
things on
basement,
offense.
no longer
Yeah,
the last ranked
They
team in
are.
the
They
power
played
ranking.
well last week. Seattle stinks, but they played well. But I think this is a tough spot for them because I think they're going to go in with that run game and pound the football. And Brissett's playing good football. I mean, I got to give him credit. He's playing pretty good football with what they asked him to do. So I think Cleveland goes in there. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game because of the run games. And so I think they'll control the clock a little bit. I'll take the Browns in the game.
I was going to say, Atlanta's kind of been a pleasant surprise, at least in regards to their offense, how it's operated, and how much more productive they've been than I thought they would. Cordero Patterson's been fantastic. Drake London, that combination with Kyle Pitts. Imagine when they do get Calvin Ridley back, what this offense could look like. But get Arthur Smith and his staff a lot of credit for the way they've competed so far and the things they've done. I'm with you, though. I'm going to lay the 1.5 here with Cleveland. I think they're the more talented team. We don't know Myles Garrett after the car accident.
Doesn't sound like he's going to play.
Yeah, I'll say you hope and pray he's just okay. Forget about that for a second. But if he does play, obviously, he's a big-time difference maker. They're not expecting him to. But that being said, I think the Browns' rushing attack, Brissett making enough plays through the air, too, they cover this 1.5.
Another agreement. All right, let's move on to the last early game on CBS, the Jets at the Steelers. Both teams 1-2, Zach Wilson's season debut.
Yeah, and Pete wanted to take the Jets, right? Isn't that who you're taking this matchup?
No, I'm not. I took the Steelers.
Oh, geez, okay.
I mean, whether it's Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco, I was taking the Steelers. At some point, Mitch Trubisky has to get that offense going. He's got too many talented players outside. They have to get.
Is it Trubisky or is it Matt Canada?
Well,
because this offense looked the exact same last year with Ben Roethlisberger when Trubisky wasn't even there, and that's been my complaint this whole time. Is for people who are frustrated with this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, want to put on Trubisky, go back and watch the tape last year. It's the same thing that with Ben Roethlisberger.
But he hasn't played great.
And Ben Roethlisberger has been openly, saying that,
right,
and critical of Matt Canada. And I know Trubisky hasn't been playing great. You're right. But I don't know that anyone really has been playing great on that offense so far. Maybe you'd say Pickens, the rookie, has played well when he's given his opportunity.
They got to get the ball down the field. They got to take some shots. I mean, they opened the thing up a little bit. And I think they can. Zach Wilson, where's the rust factor going to be with him? He's coming back off an injury. We don't know where he's going to be able to move around like he used to move around.
The biggest thing is just taking care of the football. He's starting against a really good defense on the road.
Might not have Minka Fitzpatrick this week.
Which would be a huge help there for obviously Zach Wilson in his return. But tough environment to go play, tough defense to go up in your return to start. So you'd have to think they're going to hang their hat a little bit on the rushing attack. Try to, not build a little confidence and build a rhythm early on in this game for him.
Taking the Jets.
No, I'm not. I'm actually laying the 3.5 points.
I'm trying to get you to take the Jets.
Yeah, I wish you were, but I'm not.
I'm not.
Again, agreement. It's
Lock
amazing.
unity.
Every game. Hey, Pete, you asked, or I guess Brady asked, you get to receive. Pete Prisco and the fake mayor of Jacksonville?
Yep.
Because Pete's the real mayor.
There you go.
Man.
Look at that. And Pete, you're right. You do not
Pete,
look sober there.
Wow, you do have a package going, Pete.
Yeah, you look,
Probably so, a little bit.
yeah, you look pretty hammered.
Not really. I really wasn't.
But that was the best day of your professional life, right?
No. I've had many good days in my professional life. Working with you every Wednesday. Come on.
Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen this before. We've picked 7 games, and you guys have been on the same team against the spread on all 7 games. 7.
And by the way, we have no earthly idea what the other one's picking.
No, in fact, I actually sent my picks in before our producer Jack even sent the rundown.
I was at, well, he said,
I
by the
kinda
way,
jumped the gun on it.
By the way, I didn't see the rundown, so I asked for it. He said he sent it.
You've even agreed on the Pete. You don't always pick the total, but you've agreed on that as well. You both like the over in the Bills game. You both like the under in the Browns game.
Yeah, Browns and Lions.
Wow. Yeah. All right, let's see how long this continues.
So go the other way on all those.
Yeah, just fade us. Fade us at this point.
Up next, the rest of the early afternoon slate, including a matchup of a couple of teams who've shown signs of life of late. The guys agree again on this. Are they taking the Titans or the Colts? Find out next. Continue to pick all games against the spread. These are the early afternoon games on Fox. Titans, Colts, both teams picking up their first wins of the season last week. Cooper Rush going to try to keep things going with the Cowboys and get them to 3-1, we think, unless Dak Prescott makes a miraculous return. He's getting closer. Seahawks, Lions, and Bears, Giants. Both teams above 500. Brady Quinn, Pete Prisco, they've agreed on every single pick against the spread so far. 7 games, 7 agreements. This one, the Colts favored by 3 at home against the Titans.
Yeah, and I think the Colts maybe found something last week, beating the Kansas City Chiefs at home. I know they got a little help from the officials, and that's been something that we don't know exactly what Chris Jones said to Matt Ryan to extend that drive. It doesn't matter at this point. Matt Ryan and the Colts, give them credit. They found a way to win that game and obviously created some frustration for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. In this matchup, though, it's hard to have too much confidence in the Tennessee Titans offense with where it's at right now. We know about the rushing attack, but Derrick Henry hasn't been quite as effective as he has been in the past. Ryan Tannehill in the passing game, last week got a good win, but I think if we're really being real with ourselves, there's a thought that if things continue to go poorly, maybe Malik Willis does get a shot at some point. So I'm going to go with the home team there. It's more of a home team pick with the Colts, but I also think they'll be able to get over that number of 42.5 points.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And one thing that happened last week for the Colts, they were motivated by something on that offensive line. I don't know what it was, but they played much better last week.
After
Who was the spinning top?
The Colts.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were much better.
Is that called
Spinning top bump.
It's the spinning top bounce back.
Yeah, they were much better last week, and I think they'll play well here. The Titans, other than Jeffrey Simmons, don't scare you up front. They really don't. Not having the ability to have somebody who can really rush the quarterback is a problem. I think the Colts will be able to make some plays down the field. You saw the rookie start getting in there. The wide receiver, Pierce, looked good. He made a couple catches, 3 for, I think, 50 yards. He's starting to get comfortable. I think this is going to be a situation where the Colts win the game. All you got to do against Tennessee is limit Derrick Henry from getting his feet going, and you win. I think the Colts will do that here. I think the Titans' offensive line, major problems.
It's so funny you say that, talking to one of the defensive coordinators in the league about that particular back and what they try to do to scheme things up. They said, set a wall. If you could just get him, when he gets the ball, to stop his feet in the backfield before he breaks through the line of scrimmage, that's how you end up slowing him down. If you don't let him get started, he's not as tough to slow down at that point.
You guys are 8 for 8
Oh,
on
I
the
don't
Colts
like it.
on that one. Let's move on to, let's see if the Commanders get that bounce back after the Pete Prisco Spinning Top Award this week.
Can't be any worse.
Commanders getting 3 in Dallas.
I'm laying the 3 points with the Dallas Cowboys here, and here's why. It's not with Cooper Rush. They haven't asked him to do a ton. He has delivered when they have asked him to step up. It's more about Tony Pollard. It's more about Zeke Elliott, the way I think they've been able to run the football. But that defense, that front is vicious to go up against. Micah Parsons, to me, is on a track where you're talking about putting him up with some of the all-time greats. I know we're only in his second year. I don't want to give him too much praise. But based on how he looks, and I think how Petey helps out everyone else on the defensive front, DeMarcus Lawrence and everyone else really benefits from his ability to affect the passer and make plays. So I gotta see the Commanders' offensive line play better, and I don't think it's going to be this week against this front. So I'm laying the 3 points to the Cowboys at home.
That's the exact reason I picked Dallas in this game. That's a mismatch, a major mismatch. That front against that offensive line, they'll get after the quarterback. Do they have a quarterback controversy in Dallas? No, they do not. Let's stop with that, okay? This guy can come in. He's serviceable. Cooper Rush can get the job done for a short period of time. He's not the quarterback. Dak Prescott's the quarterback. Please stop it. There are people out there who actually think he's better. I know one who actually produces the show who thinks he's better. He's wrong. This is Dak Prescott.
He's 3-0 as a starter.
I don't care. He's not better than Dak Prescott.
Let's just see a bigger sample.
I'll take the Cowboys. Yeah. I'll take the Cowboys as well.
9 for 9.
Wow.
9 games, 9 agreements against the spread. Let's see if we can make it a perfect 10 with the Seahawks and Lions. Congratulations to the Lions. This is going to be the first game as a favorite since the 2020 season.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, but I think there's a lot to take from how they've been able to play, even in some close losses like last week. They led the Minnesota Vikings by double digits twice in that game, and I think there's something to be said for obviously giving up those leads, but bottom line is they're in a much better point. The only thing that I'm concerned by is the injuries. They're starting to mount up. DeAndre Swift, he's got a banged-up shoulder. He was going into that game with a messed-up ankle. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the leading receiver, he's got a banged-up ankle. You're starting to see some issues, too, catch up. Aiden Hutchinson was dealing with a quad injury. He wasn't as impactful as we've seen. Tracy Walker at safety's out for the rest of the season. So the Lions got some issues. That's one of the reasons why I think they win this game, but I think it's going to be really close. I'm saying by 3 points. I'm going to take the 4.5 points in the Seattle Seahawks on the road here for that reason with the injuries for the Lions.
We have disagreement.
Finally.
I'm taking the Lions. That Seattle defense is awful right now.
It's not good.
And I think the Lions are scoring a ton of points. I think they'll score a bunch in this game. In fact, I think Seattle will score some points as well. I think it's a high-scoring game. It'll go over, but I'm taking the Lions in this one. I think they win.
I believe the Lions offense, by the way, has like a consecutive streak of scoring in quarters right now.
Until the last quarter, right? They didn't score a touchdown.
Until the fourth quarter,
Yeah,
they didn't score a touchdown. That was the first one. It's kind of crazy because we don't associate that scoring with the Detroit Lions, but they were at least on a run for a while there.
Good up front.
26 straight games as an underdog until this one.
With some backups, too, by the way.
Yeah.
They haven't got Vaitai back.
They don't.
Dan Skipper got a second start last week.
Second start of his career. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Bears and the Giants. Both teams are 2-1. One of these teams likely going to be 3-1. Low total here of 38.5.
Yeah, I'm still picking the under too, by the way. And look, I think the Bears want to run the football, play good defense, shorten the game. I think the Giants want to do that to a certain degree. Saquon's been phenomenal. He really has, and he's the reason why I'm picking the Giants and laying the 3 points here, because he is back. He's a mismatch. He's tough to deal with. They're obviously not going to have Sterling Shepard the rest of the year. Someone's going to step up on the outside. That makes things a little more difficult for Daniel Jones. But I think the Giants overall are improved. And I know they didn't win this past week, but I think they are starting to play a little more with that swagger. So I'll lay the 3 points to the Giants at home.
Yeah, there's a chance they could have Kadarius Toney or Wendell Robinson back in the lineup. And if they do, that's good for them. That'll give them some speed that they need. I think this will come down to whether they can stop the running game of the Bears. The Bears, it doesn't matter who's been back there. They've run the ball. For all the criticism of their offensive line, they've been physical up front and run the ball. Herbert ran it well last week when he came in. I think this is going to come down to whether the Giants can stop them. I think they will stop them, so I'm with you. I'll take the Giants as well.
Do you remember the 82 Patriots, Pete?
82 Patriots.
Yeah. So the Bears have 45 pass attempts this season. It's the fewest since the 82 New England Patriots through 3 games.
Right. That's a strike year, so I'm trying to think of why.
So is it replacements?
Yeah. 2 years before I was born, so I can't really help you with that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Samesies. All right, so we finally had our first disagreement here, but that's the only one so far. It was on the Seahawks and Lions game. Brady's going to take those points with the Seahawks. Pete likes the Lions in that game to cover the spread. Colts, Cowboys, Giants, the picks, and agreement. Up next, a game between a couple of AFC West rivals, Broncos, Raiders. They've both been disappointing so far, but one team is the only 0-3 team in the league. Will the Raiders get their first win? Only 3 late afternoon games on Sunday because we have the early London game between the Vikings and the Saints, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. A couple of good ones on CBS, well, relatively speaking. Good matchup, Patriots-Packers, but the Patriots aren't the Patriots of old. Broncos-Raiders also on CBS. Let's start with that one. Pete Prisco, Brady, Quinn, and the Raiders are favorites in this game, and they need it.
Favorite says 0-3 football team.
Yeah. Well,
the only one. Only 0-3 team in the league.
Desperate teams usually do desperate things. We saw that last week. The Colts, desperate team, did desperate thing. The Titans, desperate team, did desperate things.
You had a kind of week last week where you might need to do some desperate things.
And I am, and that's why I'm taking the Raiders. I'm right there with them. I need desperation in the worst way to come true because I just think that this is one of those teams you have to have it. They don't win this game, their season's done. They're done. 0-4.
I mean, I think 0-3, statistically speaking, you might say they're.
They can rally. They can rally. But if they're 0-4, they're definitely done. And they have not looked good. Look, Devontae Adams hasn't done a thing in the last couple weeks. They need to get him going. I think they'll change some of the things that they do. The timing of that offense hasn't been there. I think this is the week he gets going. I know the Broncos have been good on defense, but they've been bad on offense too. And I think the Raiders will play good on defense here. So I'm going to take the Raiders minus the small number.
Who has the better defense between the two teams?
Broncos do.
Broncos do. As far as offensively goes, it's kind of hard because the Broncos have been so bad. But I think they found something on Sunday night. That final drive, the go-ahead drive, that was my expectation of what the Broncos offense would look like when Russell Wilson got there. Now, it's taken him a few weeks, but I think they can replicate that moving forward, especially against the Las Vegas Raiders. The concern I have for the Raiders is the Josh McDaniels system is very different from what Derek Carr was asked to do in the West Coast system with John Gruden. I mean, we're talking night and day.
It's all reading on the run and all that, right?
There's a degree of that. It's kind of putting it simply, but the verbiage is different. Right. Your footwork is different. You're talking about the timing of plays, very different. And so I think there's going to be a learning curve for Derek Carr and really this entire team as Josh McDaniels tries to figure some things out. And look, they're not just 0-3. Josh McDaniels isn't just 0-3 as a head football coach for the Raiders. You go back to his time in 2010 with the Broncos, he finished on a 3-game losing streak.
You were on that team, right?
I was. He's 0-6 right now. And so, I'm sure he'd love.
No bearing on now.
You might not think it has a bearing, but guess what? I'm sure he's aware of it. I'm sure he realizes it because people are talking about it. And that happens to be the team they play is his old employer with how things got left off.
Revenge.
So, as people would say, a revenge game.
Yeah, I hate revenge.
I'm going to go ahead and take the 2.5 points here in the Denver Broncos. I think this is going to be close. It's tough to tell with either of these two teams right now with the way they're playing, but I'll take the 2.5 points because of the better defense.
One quick question. because I know you're the defender of all defenders and you defend this guy. Russell Wilson's playing bad football.
He's been playing bad football. He's also in a new system. And here's the hard part.
There's the defense.
It's a caveat, but here's the hard part. How has Nathaniel Hackett looked as a head coach?
Bad.
He hires Jerry Rosburg three weeks into the season. Hey, Hackett, do you think maybe you would have thought about you might need a situational coach before you took the job, during the spring when you had the job? I mean, this coaching staff has looked as green as they were coming into the job. And I think if you're the Walton family and you just bought into this, because this coaching hire was made before, you got to be questioning a lot of things right now with the way it's being run.
I get it, but if you're a superstar quarterback, you have to elevate everybody around.
We can blame Russell Wilson.
I will.
Okay, and you will, okay? I'm saying I think if they can replicate what they did that final drive, and that's what we see moving forward, they'll be just fine. They're still a 2-1 football team. It feels like they're 0-3 like the Raiders. They're not. They're the better team right now coming into this.
You're killing the head coach, and they're 2-1.
Exactly.
Right.
I think you said he was a defender of everything and everyone. He killed the head coach there for you.
He did, because that's the easy target. He won't kill a quarterback.
Can we just calm down here for a second?
He won't kill a quarterback, ever.
I'd like to try to provide perspective.
No, be real.
I am being
playing
real.
bad.
He has not played well, no.
Okay.
With the exception of the final drive.
Say he's playing bad. Let's see if it comes out.
I just said that. He's been playing bad. I said he's not playing well.
He's not playing well.
That's another way of saying playing bad.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's a nicer way of saying it.
I say this is Arizona State education.
Please say he's playing bad football.
I just said he's playing bad football.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now we can move on.
He said it a couple times before.
I said it a couple times before.
He said not playing well. I want to hear bad.
Are we arguing semantics right now?
Semantics,
This
that's
is
for
unbelievable.
sure.
You're being nice.
That's one of the late afternoon games on CBS. The other one is Patriots and Packers, and the Patriots are getting double-digit points in Green Bay without
Are we
Mac
still
Jones
putting this
likely.
at 10.5? I saw it at 9.5. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it was under 10. And reason being is this. I feel like a fish on this one. This is a big spread. It's because Mac Jones is out. Even with Mac Jones in, the offense hasn't been great anyway. Let's just acknowledge that. But this is one of those games where I feel like the Patriots are just going to hammer away running the football. Was it against the Bills? Was that last year?
Yes.
When they ran the football, 40-something, whatever it was? Yes, in the win game. I feel like that's been the Achilles heel for this Packers defense. They can't stop the run. And as we take a look at Brian Hoyer's last 11 starts, and he's going to be the starter for this game, I think they're not going to ask him to do too much. I think they're going to run away, hammer away, running the football, and see if they can't find themselves in a tight game. So, now look, the Packers win this game, but at 10.5, it concerns me a bit because I think they could handily win this. I know you're pointing out at the paper. I picked the Packers. I'm laying the points. I don't feel good about it for that reason.
Okay. Well, you never feel good about laying 10.5.
Well, the last time I looked at the line, it was 9.5. That's only
You never feel good about laying 10.5 in the NFL. Anytime. You never feel good about that. But I'm doing it. I'm with you. I don't love laying 10.5 to a Belichick team, but I think they're so limited on offense that's going to play right into the Green Bay defense, and that's the biggest mismatch here, the Green Bay defense. You talk about running the ball, yeah, but the Patriots aren't a great running team either.
No, but the Packers aren't a good run defense.
No, they're not, but they're not a good run team. So I think in the end, I think Green Bay will get a turnover or two, turn them into short fields, and find a way to win the game by more than 10.
Okay.
That game is at 4:25, as is the other CBS game, Broncos-Raiders. There's a 4:05 kick as well over on Fox. Cardinals, Panthers, both 1-2. Panthers got a surprising win last week.
A nice win last week. I think maybe you're starting to feel Baker Mayfield more comfortable within this offense. We know the Carolina Panthers defense is going to be salty. Look, I'm taking the 1.5 here with Arizona Cardinals, and I don't have much justification for it outside of the fact that you're taking the Panthers, so I'm glad we differ at least on one pick. I feel like there's not necessarily some desperation, I think, with the Cardinals, but this is one you're supposed to win. And this is one that I know they don't have much help out on the outside of wide receiver, but I think Kyler Murray is the better quarterback between the two, the way at least he's played so far this year. And I trust him figuring out a way to keep this thing razor close or win this game outright. So I'll take the 1.5 in the Arizona Cardinals.
And I'm going to go on the other side. I just don't think Arizona's a very good team. And I think after this game, if they lose this game, there's going to be a lot of questions about A, the extension for Steve Keim, B, the extension for Cliff Kingsbury, and the monster extension for Kyler Murray.
I mean, there's no way they can move on from them after all that in the offseason.
You would think not, but sometimes these owners, they get a little impatient. But this is not a good look. It's not a good team. Carolina's not a good team either, but they're at home. Their defense has played well, and I think they'll do enough to find a way to win this game by
Let me ask you
field
this.
goal.
It feels like Matt Rule with the win last week versus the Saints might have staved off some of the pressure that he's feeling being on the hot seat with David Tepper, their owner. If they lose this game, where does that leave Matt Rule and the Panthers?
The loser of this game is on the hot seat. I don't think there's any.
You just said the Arizona Cardinals aren't going to fire their head coach.
I didn't say they weren't going to fire him. I'm saying he's on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat now.
Well, does the hot seat last throughout the season?
Yeah, you're not going to fire him during the season, but they could fire. They could make a change after the season.
I don't know. With all that money they have to pay out, I don't know about that.
Panthers have been really bad as favorites. They've lost 7 straight games outright as a favorite. Brady thinks that's going to happen again. Pete does not. Recapping the picks from Pete and Brady, they agreed on their first 9 picks against the spread, but a couple of disagreements here. They do like the Packers minus 10.5 against the Patriots. To the prime time games on Sunday and Monday night. Couple of Super Bowl contenders coming off their first losses of the season. Which one bounces back on Sunday Night Football? Two more games to pick with Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. Sunday night, Buccaneers, as of right now, as of Wednesday. That game is still planned on taking place in Tampa. If they need to move it because of the hurricane and the remnants and all that, it would likely go to Minnesota. Rams and 49ers, Monday Night Football, rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year. Okay, we've had so many agreements with Brady and Pete already. Let's go to this one. The Chiefs, 2-point favorites in Tampa, both teams coming off disappointing defeats.
Yeah, but I think the Chiefs are in a spot where I think this is a get-back-right game for them. Tough challenge, though, going up against the Tampa Bay Bucs defense that has been dominant this year. Although you look at the Tampa Bay Bucs offense, they're just having a hard time scoring, and I get it. You don't have those options on the outside of wide receiver. Their offensive line has dealt with some protection issues. So this doesn't get any easier going up against the Chiefs defense that I think has gotten better up front. But the Chiefs offense, I think, will be able to find some success and some production. And I also think you factor into what's happening right now in Tampa, the hurricane that's going on, maybe this team getting displaced and not even necessarily playing this game either at home or if they are playing at home, potentially not even in front of a home crowd and having that 12th man advantage. So I'll go ahead and lay the 2 points here against the Chiefs.
I'll take the Chiefs no matter where the game is played. If the game gets moved, I really like them in Minneapolis. That'll almost become a home game for them. You know the Chiefs fans will end up that way. So I'll take the Chiefs. I was disappointed in their offense last week, and that's the whole thing about Patrick Mahomes, the patience factor. And Gus Bradley has done a good job in his career making him be patient. But the Bucs don't play like that, Brady. You know what they do on defense? They go after you. They play man coverage outside. I think they'll be able to hit some shots down the field. And you're right about the Bucs offense. When you watch them, they're down to a third-team left tackle last week. The interior of the offensive line got pushed around. They can't protect anybody, and you can see Tom Brady's getting a little jumpy. So I'm with you. I'll take the Chiefs in the spot, no matter where the game is played. If it's in Tampa or
well, I'm not changing my pick either if it's played in Minnesota. It's just, for Tampa, I think it makes it only that much more difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
They might not have any sort of home crowd
I didn't say
advantage
you were.
at all.
I'm just saying you would pick the Chiefs no matter where they play.
Line might move. I mean, if they play in Minnesota and there is supposed to be home field advantage for the Chiefs, maybe the line changes a little bit. But right now, Chiefs -2 is the pick. Monday Night Football, Rams, 49ers, rematch of last year's NFC Championship game that looks a lot more like a rematch than we thought it would be going into the season. We thought it'd be Trey Lance, but it's Jimmy G. Once again, Niners are 1-2.
Yeah, I don't feel great about this pick, but I'll take the 2.5 points in the Rams keeping this one close. I think there's some frustration right now with Jimmy G and this offense for the 49ers. I mean, they really seem to struggle this past week. Defensively, you know how good they can be, but I think the Rams will start to get some things going here. So I'll take the 2.5 points. And I think the Rams may not even need that. I think they might win outright.
I don't think either team's looked that great so far. I mean, there's something off with the Rams at times. They just don't look like the same team. And the 49ers offensively, last week, they made some bad throws and bad decisions for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he picks it back up this week. And I think defensively, they're really good. I think they're going to cause problems for that offense. So I'm going to take the 49ers. I don't love it, but I'll take the 49ers.
16 games, and you guys agreed on 12 of them this week.
All right, we got 4 on the line, 4 differ. I mean,
So we'll probably split, go 2-2, and I'll still be ahead by the end of the week.
or not. I mean, depending on if you have another week like you had last week, which I'll be right down there with you, but hopefully I'll be on top.
If I have another week like I had last week, you're going to be in the abyss too.
You're sinking the ship and we're
Oh, that was bad.
Pete, 5-12.
Say it again, why don't you?
5-12.
Just yell it out as loud as you
5-12
There you go. Okay.
against the spread. It is now time for our performance multiplier, powered by Liquid IV, the best bets from both Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. Pete, what is your best bet for the week in the NFL?
It's the Las Vegas Raiders, and I just think desperation will be in play here. I think they're going to find a way to score enough points against a good Denver defense. The Denver offense isn't very good, and I think that shows up as well. I will take Raiders as my best bet.
Would you say they're not good or they're just not executing well? Because they have good talent. They have good personnel. It just seems like they're not getting it going and not putting it together.
I keep hearing all that talk about, oh, Russell Wilson, look at all the weapons he has. Are his weapons better now than what they were on the outside in Seattle? No.
I think some people would say the Denver Broncos might have more depth at the wide receiver position, skill
better.
positions. I don't know that I'm saying they're better than DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, but I think you'd say the offensive line's better. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Better than what he's had in Seattle, yes.
And the defense is better.
It was certainly better right now. Yeah.
I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, laying a couple points on the road versus Tampa. It's in part because I think the Chiefs are too good not to get this thing back on track from what we saw versus Indy. I also think the fact that, given what the Tampa Bay Bucs are all dealing with right now, it feels bad betting against them, and it's a cardinal sin to ever bet against Tom Brady. But I just think they're having an uphill battle with the injuries they're dealing with, and then on top of that, obviously, Hurricane Ian and having to potentially displace them or just not having the same advantage they normally have in Tampa if the game's even played there.
So if the game moves to Minneapolis and the line changes, you're going to give us a backup pick because we can't give you that one.
What do you mean? I still get the 2 points. You make the bet now. That's the bet. I can't help you.
That's the bet, Pete.
That's the
No matter
bet.
what
I can't
happens.
help you, man. Sorry. Sorry, Pete.
I think we got to get a second pick from you.
I don't know.
Pete's getting a little worried. He's only a game up on you now.
I don't know.
I'm not worried.
Up and I've been awful.
He's due for.
I'm due for a really big week.
Yeah.
So I've been bad the entire year.
No, you're
That's why
due
I'm sub
for
500.
You're due for.
That's what you're
total
scared
stinker.
by. Is I've been so bad this year.
No, you're due for a total.
I'm just
you haven't
one
had that
game back. I'm just one game back.
You've just been garbage for the whole 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
I was good, and then
You
I
were
had the
atrocious.
ultimate garbage week.
You were atrocious.
Oh, that was repulsive.
I mean, does it get any worse than you last week? It doesn't, does it?
It was terrible.
I mean, you maybe should have.
I was sitting there watching those games, and I go, my picks are all rotten, every one of them.
Yeah.
But I bounced back in a big way. I don't let things get me down.
Well, if you bounce back, I bounce back to a degree too. You know
right,
that, right?
I get it.
Fake mayor of Jacksonville, Pete Prisco, and
The real
Brady
mayor.
Quinn, the
If I
defender
ran,
of
I'd probably
everyone and
win. By the
everything.
way, I got
Someone
a lot of good things for the campaign. I'm going to win.
Okay, all right. Pete, Brady, thank you so much. HQ presented by Liquid IV. Picks for every game against the spread and a ton of agreement for these two this week. Enjoy the weekend in the NFL.